less interested in building community online and more interested in building community in person.
People are realizing how hard it is to be completely plugged in because of all of the noise behind them.
I mean, I've worked with realtors, I've worked with accountants, I've worked with tarot readers, like you name it. If you're a service-based entrepreneur, you need to figure out how to run a business.
The internet telling us all these things that if you're not here, you're failing. You're saying, let's just keep getting better.
If I have done the best I can do, you don't need me anymore.
I kind of got chills just because I've never heard that before. And that should just show that you are genuinely trying to make people better.
Hey there, my little biz besties. Welcome back to In Good Company, where real entrepreneurs share real growth stories. Thanks for liking and subscribing to my channel. Let's get into it.
I was approached on Instagram from, I believe, someone who's a big fan. So they said, I think you should talk to Jo. She's amazing. They mentioned that you had moved, you were a Louisville local, native, and then you moved, is that right?
To Peru.
Well,
actually, okay. Uruguay first, but then Peru, and then Mexico. So, I'm just back in the U.S. after 14 years of living abroad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So your kids have been world travelers.
Yeah, my son was born in Peru. He's actually just now getting his feet wet in America. I mean, he's traveled here before, but we moved back just a little bit less than a year ago is when we actually moved back. We came back October 27th, so we're closing in on a year. Yeah. And that kid has the soul of a 1980s American kid like nobody I've ever known, considering he was born in Peru.
Yeah.
And where we live is feeding his soul in the best ways. I absolutely love it.
Oh, why do you think that is, not being here?
It's really funny because I think part of it has to do with some of the cartoons that he watched, some of the American cartoons. I mean, he's fully bilingual. He speaks Spanish. His dad didn't speak any English, so so he's been raised speaking both languages. Yeah. And we still speak Spanish here at home, probably not enough because he needs to really work on his at this point. But I don't know, it's really funny because I grew up in a weird way thinking I didn't belong in the U.S. Mm-hmm. And when I got to do an exchange program the first time in, my junior year, okay. I went abroad. I went to Europe the first time when I was 15, and then when I was 17, I got to go live in Italy for a few weeks through a Rotary exchange, and it was like, this is what life can be like? This is how these people, oh man, this I like. Yeah. And then I went to Peru during my senior year of college.
Okay.
And that just kind of sealed the deal. I was like, I am not meant to be in the U.S. I need to leave.
I'm getting out of here.
and it took me until I was 37 to make it happen on a permanent basis, but I finally did it. And it's funny because my kid growing up was always like, you had so much freedom. You got to do whatever you wanted. And you got to... I was just like, this is a kid that misses the 80s and wasn't even a part of it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, that's so interesting that you said the cartoons could have affected that too, because there is something about 80s and 90s movies and TV shows that kind of appeal to non-American citizens. And I say that not only because we watch a lot of 90s movies around here, but we had an exchange student from Italy, and every idea that she had about America felt like it was coming straight from Sandlot or straight from you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's like that. And and even newer ones, I mean, it's kind of funny because I don't know, you have kids, so I don't know if you know Craig of the Creek. But Craig of the Creek is definitely a 2000s cartoon, but it is definitely written by somebody who's Gen X. Right? Because they're all about going and hanging out in the creek, and nobody's parents are wondering where they are, and they're making up things and, creating these adventures, and that just spoke to his soul. And so I think that's been
a big part of it.
A big time.
So we are back in America, begrudgingly or expectedly?
It's really funny. So the only way I really know how to explain this, so I work with strengths, CliftonStrengths, StrengthsFinder. So it's an assessment you can take, and I have talents that are strategic and, futuristic and activator and arranger. So like, I don't work without a plan. I love to know kind of what's coming next, where I'm headed, what's happening. And last year was a really hard year for us. Last year was a really, really hard year. And so we decided to come back to the States, and we kind of did a road trip and visited some friends. And I will say, initially I was thinking, like, we were living in Mexico at the time, and I thought maybe we'll just find someplace else in Mexico to live. Yeah. I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And then I thought, well, Spain could be good. I have some friends in Spain, and Spain sounds interesting, because coming back to the States was not on my radar. Yeah. I lost my family when I lost most of my family when I was really young. I'm an only child. I didn't have anywhere to come home to. Okay. And so starting from scratch in the U.S. sounded way more difficult than I wanted to tackle. Okay. Right? Between, having to have a car and, somewhere to live and the insurance and, like all these things that for 14 years I didn't really need to worry about all that much. Interesting. Okay. It just felt overwhelming and daunting. Mm-hmm. And we came back to visit friends, and a lot of the people I were seeing were, I've always said, well, I don't really have any family to offer Oliver, so like, why would we go back to the States? We can, create family anywhere. And in the process, we were visiting friends who are friends with my parents, so they're all, 80 now. And I thought, I don't have family, but I have a lot of family. And I do have people I care about, and I do have people I've missed being able to see regularly. And maybe we'll come back. And so at some point I said to Oliver, hey, I'm thinking maybe about moving back to the U.S. And he goes, yay! And I was like, oh, all right. Okay. And I said, okay, of all the states you've ever visited, like, where do you think you'd want to be? And he goes, Michigan. And I said, okay, which was good, because I was thinking Michigan too, but I was like, okay. And Michigan because? And he goes, because they have all the food I like. So what does that mean? Yes. And he goes, Culver's and Texas Roadhouse and Olive Garden. I was like, okay, we can get most of those anywhere. So, like, besides the food, like, what else? And he was like, snow. Okay. Oh, and I said, and he goes, and my grandparents, my parents' best friends who are standing grandparents. And I said, well, that's a good reason. I said, is there anything else? He goes, I finally have friends who get me. And I was like, that's it. That's it.
That's the one.
And like, we had 2 weeks left in the States, and I was like checking out schools and figuring out where we were going to go and starting to plant the seeds. And we were back here 6 weeks later.
Oh, that's so fun. I love hearing what is appealing to people to come back. Because when you live in it, it's kind of their perspective is totally off. You're like, why would you? But
I got a lot of people going, now really the time to come back? Like, we're all looking to leave. And I went, well, I get that, but with what I want to do in the world and everything I'm doing, I feel like maybe there was never a better time to come back, because I think what I do is needed more than ever. So trying to keep that perspective on it, which doesn't mean it's not a little overwhelming. It is, but
I love that you are saying, even if it seems like a weird time to come back, that feeling, that pull tells you it's exactly the right time. Yeah. And what you do, you can do anywhere, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you work totally online.
Yeah, I worked totally online long before it was cool. I mean, I've been working online since, 2012. Yeah. So I've been a global coach. I've done a lot of work online. But it's been interesting to be back in the States, because I have found myself wanting to pull back from that a little bit. And I think a lot of people are wanting to pull back from that a little bit.
Really?
I think we're just saturated with online. And then I think just the overwhelming heaviness that so many of us are feeling. And that falls on either side of the fence. It's obviously political in nature, but I think it's more than that. Yeah. I think, I wrote a post the other day saying, this idea that we want to go back to the 80s, or we want to go back to the 70s, or we want to go back to the 50s. Like, we're always going back to a simpler time. I think the simpler time is you want to be able to ask your neighbor for a cup of sugar. You want your friends to walk in the back door and sit down and have a chat with a cup of coffee while you're washing dishes, right? Yeah. Like, I think what we miss is the simplicity of not being saturated and constantly bombarded. And so, this whole trend of getting landlines, right? And, all of these things that are like, I think people are just retreating into their communities in person. I think they're less interested in building community online and more interested in building community in person.
That's such a good point. I've definitely felt this pull for people wanting to connect in person. As a virtual accountant, as an online podcast host, a lot of people want to know, well, can we meet face to face? And because of how my business started, which was online, now it feels like, oh, I think we need to change our business model to meet people where they are.
And it's a shift. It's a big shift. And and that's been a lot of coming back to the States is like, what does this look like now? Because I do have like a global following and I don't want to not show up for them, but I actually see them showing up less with me. Right. And not because they don't love what I'm doing and not because I don't hear from them, but their participation online is a lot less frequent.
Yeah. And it could be exactly what you're saying. People are pulling back a little bit. People are realizing how hard it is to be completely plugged in because of all of the noise behind them. And you are there to meet them where they are. So when I asked you, are you a coach? You were like, I have thoughts about that.
This is the thing, okay, by title, I'm a Gallup certified strengths coach. And yes, I am a coach, but I don't love the title, not because there's anything wrong with being a coach. I know some amazing coaches out there. It's just not me. And mostly that's because I can't keep my opinions to myself. Right? And a coach is supposed to draw the questions out and have you reflect and figure out what's in you. And I'm just like, you are taking too long. So this is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm seeing. Does that feel accurate? Oh, it feels accurate. Good. Can we move on now? Right? And that's my talent set.
Okay.
That I have, that it's not about pushing people, but it is, I don't like getting stuck in endless loops.
Okay.
Right? And I also think that when you don't, one of the things I love about strengths is it really gives you a lot of insight into who you are, like in a way that basic self-reflection without that anchor leads you to a lot of I don't know why I do that. I don't know why I'm like that. Okay, yeah, let's look at my mom and how she treated me, or let's look at my childhood and how I was raised. And sure, there's some of that in there, but the talents give you a really clear starting point. And with that, you're like, oh, that's why that always bothered me growing up, or oh, that's why that's so important to me. And it starts to make the reflection process a lot easier to then look at that set of needs, wants, values that you can put a name to it and then go, oh yeah, I can see where when I was little why that bothered me, because I have this talent and that talent feeds that, right? I have communication and woo as a talent. I was the kid who was constantly pulled away from the rest of the class and had to sit next to the teacher because I was always disturbing my neighbors. If I could just stop talking long enough.
Yeah.
Right?
I think we all know a kid like that, and that was you.
Oh, it was totally me. And the funny thing is I didn't even have that many friends, but man, it did not stop me from talking to you.
We got things to say.
I got things to say. I want to tell a story. I want to be a part of this conversation, right? And so, and communication is obviously, I like words. I like to tell stories. I like to connect through conversation. Woo is winning others over. So it's really about being the welcoming committee. It's really about just wanting to draw other people in, making other people feel welcome, having this sort of magnetism where people are attracted to your presence. Okay. And there's an immediate trust that feels like it's built.
Oh, I love that. And so when you are working with someone, when they come to you and they're like, just Joe, I want to chat, do you find that there's a trend of the type of people or archetype of people that come to you, that are drawn to you?
So it's really funny. So my personal space has often been with service-based entrepreneurs.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of other coaches, honestly, which I did not set out, and specifically strengths coaches for the most part. But I've worked with realtors, I've worked with accountants, I've worked with tarot readers, you know, like you name it. If you're a service-based entrepreneur, you need to figure out how to run a business.
Yeah.
Right? But we do it so much with our heart, and because we have such mission behind it that we often miss some of the key pieces. Mm-hmm. But I think there's also the sense, like I mentioned, like I'm not a coach because I can't keep my opinions to myself. So people who want to go down the coaching path, I'm like, are you sure you're a coach? I'm like, because you could be a facilitator. You could be a speaker. You could be an advisor. You could be a consultant. You could be a teacher. You could be a trainer. Like, what do your talents set you up for? What is the success your talents are setting you up for? And is there any piece of that you're working against because you think that's what you have to do to make money? Right? So it's helping people get aligned in a way that they will show up in the way that feeds them the best, so that not only will they be more successful and more honest with who they are and showing up in that authentic way, it will actually get them through the tougher times, because they'll feel so connected to their mission that it will be tough for them to throw it all away just because you think there's a certain way to do that. Yeah. So you're like, oh, I really want to work with nonprofits, but like there's no money there, so I guess I'm going to go work with managers and corporations. And you're like, wow, you sound really excited about that.
Right. And that shows up when you show up. If people feel that you're not excited.
And if you're not excited about what you're doing, right? People can see it.
Yeah.
But if you're so behind your mission, the people will find you. So it's not about identifying who your ideal client is. It's about your ideal client finding you because your message is so loud.
Oh, I love
right?
that.
You are your own lead magnet.
Yeah.
And even if you're an accountant, right? You do accounting. It doesn't mean you want to work with everyone, right? There's a specific person that you really love working with. And so you want to make sure that you're messaging in a way that attracts more of those people to you.
Okay. So maybe it's not about screaming, I work with these people. It's about how you show up. It's about your message. It's about the way that you dress, the way that you speak, and that is attracting the people to you.
100%.
Looking for them.
Yes.
Oh, I love that reframe. You don't hear that. You hear you have to niche down and you have to scream it from the rooftops. This is who I work with, and hope that it works. And I have worked against that for 10 years. Oh,
and I think if you're in a product-based industry, there's something to be said about that. But you are the product. And the only way someone is going to decide if they want to work with you is if they relate to you. And to relate to you, you need to be a little bit vulnerable. I love to use things like, if you're anything like me, you've struggled with this, you've celebrated this, you love when this happens, you hate when this happens, right? So like you pull people in by saying like, and not just pain points, right?
Okay.
If you're anything like me, you love it when.
Oh, I love that, because there's been this trend going around, where people put a picture of themselves and, text on the screen, and they're saying, I'm sorry, but I hate these things, or I love these things, and they list out all these things that they love or hate. And even though some of them are just completely ridiculous for, the shock factor, I'm like, okay, that was a weird, thing to put in there. But most of them, when you read through, you're like, oh, me too. And it makes you want to look in more versus, oh, you're right. You're calling out the fact that I'm, insert emotion.
Right.
There's something to that.
Are you frustrated? Are you not making enough money? Do you wish you could do it? And I like that. I mean, strengths is positive psychology. So unfortunately, people are going to respond to something they feel like they need to fix.
Yeah.
But I don't love creating a society that only believes on working on themselves because they think they're broken. I want people to think about working on themselves and be the best they can possibly be.
Oh, okay. Yes. Reframing. We don't have to just focus on all of the things we wish were better about ourselves. Beating ourselves up all the time. The internet telling us all these things that we, if you're not here, you're failing. You're saying, let's just keep getting better instead of focusing on failure.
Yeah. And I mean, and failure is a good thing. Failure is part of the process, right? But don't think you're broken and something that needs to be fixed. You may need to be polished a little bit. We may need to dig a little bit and find out what's in there because for whatever reason you can't see it in yourself. And most of us can't. We're all I don't even remember where I heard this the first time, so it is not my own clever little idea, but I love it, which is we're all sitting inside the jar and can't read our label. So it does help to have an external perspective, but you have to be careful with that external perspective. You are the one who needs to create your personal brand. You are the one who needs to know who you are and how you want to show up. Because if you don't, other people will define you for yourself. And if other people are defining you, you are living up to what other people believe you to be and not who you know you to be.
Oh, that's so true. You want to still stay true to who you are, and only you can truly know who you are. So it still takes a little bit of inner dialogue and inner work, for
Absolutely.
sure.
And again, and that's why I like the strengths, right? Because the strengths give you those little pieces and glimpses of like your purpose is kind of coded into your strengths.
Okay, so explain to me what strengths means.
Okay, so strengths. So CliftonStrengths, it used to be known as StrengthsFinder. It is often an assessment people will take at the workplace. It says you have talents like learner or achiever or relator or maximizer. There's 34 different talents, right?
Okay.
But every talent has an I am, I do, I need, I value, I contribute, I'm bothered by, and like a barrier label, because every talent can be a weakness or a strength.
Okay.
Right? So you'll hear a lot of people say like your greatest strength is also your greatest weakness. Well, it's true. But we start with the neutral place of a talent, right? So my communication loves to talk. My communication might forget to listen.
Oh.
My communication might interrupt because I'm ready to finish your sentence. And I'm finishing your sentence not because I'm bored and I want you to get to the point. I finish your sentence because I want to show you I'm listening and I know what you're saying. But that's not how other people are going to perceive it.
Right.
Right? And so when you know that I have communication, I'm interrupting, you can say, Joe, you keep interrupting me, and I know you're doing it because you're just trying to share that you understand me, but can you please let me finish a sentence? And like, I am not going to be offended because you've recognized that it comes from my communication and not some evil need to cut you off every time you're talking.
Right. Your intentions are good.
My intentions are good, and you can recognize, I understand what you're doing, but can you stop for a minute? Right?
Okay.
And that's when I'm going to go,
Yeah. My bad.
And I'm literally going to physically put my finger over my mouth to remind me not to open it. That's my strategy.
So that's one of the strengths. That's the greatest, weakest, that's where it comes together. So this assessment is essentially pulling some of these traits out by asking questions.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'll do it with people, even if I'm at a dinner party, like, oh, I did strengths once. I think, hold on, like, I've got this and this and this. And I'm like, oh, so you probably love doing this. And you probably, strategic ideation maximizer. My strategic loves possibilities. Do not ever tell me there's only one way to do something, because I will tell you to hold my beer and I will come back and give you 3 more ways we can make it happen.
Okay.
Doesn't mean those 3 ways are the best way to make it happen. I just can't stand the fact that you only think there's one way. You need to know there's options. You need to know there's options. You don't have to love the options. You just have to know there are some, right? My ideation is popcorn. I want to throw everything at the wall, and I could throw 6 pieces of paper at the wall and suddenly go, oh my God, do you know those pieces just made a bunny rabbit? And people are going to be like, what are you, there are just 16 pieces of paper on the wall. And I'm like, no. If you look at them like that, right? Ideation will connect things really quickly and see things that other people don't necessarily see. They love brainstorming, but they're also they make rapid connections. If you're talking to me about your dog and I'm like, oh my God, I also love vanilla ice cream. And you're like, what in the world did ice cream have to do with my dog? And I'm like, well, when I walk my dog, I go to this park and there's always this guy that's selling ice cream. He has the best vanilla ice cream. And like the thing I think to say out loud is the ice cream part, but I don't tell you how I got there.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
Maximizer, right? Maximizer wants absolutely the best. Is it worth it? Like, you kind of live in this superlative world. Are you the happiest you could be? Is this the best it could be? Is this the fastest we could do it? Right? It's this need to always want to take something that's working, but really elevate it to be the best possible way it could be. So you're always asking, is it worth it? Is it worth my time? Is it worth the energy? Is it worth this? Because it's about quality over quantity, right? And that's how I see the world. But not everybody sees the world like I do. And so if I think everybody sees the world like me and I can't understand why we have such wildly different perspectives and I don't know the talents, then I'm just really irritated all the time because my way is pretty awesome.
Yes.
I feel like more people should be like me.
This is helping you. So when someone comes to work with you, is this part of the process? Let's take this test so you can understand.
100%. If I hire anybody to work with me, and even if it's just nominal work or we're going to be a partner on something, you have to take the strengths assessment. We have to understand one another so that we know how to get the best out of each other.
Oh, so you're keeping this in your mind. Someone takes this test. They're working with you, working for you. They take this test. You see the results. So at the back of your mind, every time you talk to this person, interact with this person, collaborate with them, you have these things in the back of your mind. Okay, they're not going to receive this information this way because they think this way. Oh, I love that. Okay.
Right? And if I'm stressed out and I just deliver it without thinking about how they're going to receive it and they don't receive it well, I'll be like, oh crap, yeah, that was not the way to do that with them, right? So it's not about changing who you are, but it is about understanding how to adapt and understand what the other person needs so that you can have an open communication channel.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't automatically shut down because somebody sees something differently than you.
So you're more aware.
And I want, and I want everybody to have like a 5th grade vocabulary understanding. Like nobody has to go out and get certified. Not everybody has to go to that level. But if we could teach these 34 words like a vocabulary test, so that when you meet someone with analytical as a talent, you automatically go, oh, that's why they ask me so many questions, and that's why they always want proof of anything I'm telling them, and that's why they look like they don't really care, because they're always like poker face, and I never know what they're thinking. Oh, that's because they have analytical.
I feel like a husband and wife should take this test.
100%. And I will tell you, some of the best couples I know are truly the opposites of one another.
Sure.
But you see it on paper, and you go, oh, right? And then you go, so I had a couple I was working with. They'd been married for 40 years. The husband was like deliberative and analytical and learner and slow and methodical and like couldn't take a lot of information at once. His wife had ideation, communication, and so like so he was like, she's like popcorn. And I said, and he's like, and I said, right, and you have no idea which kernel to focus on. And she's just throwing a whole bunch of popcorn at you. And he's like, yes. And I'm like, okay, so here's the thing. You need to let her throw all the popcorn because that's how her mind works to pick the best kernel. So you may have to let her go through the popcorn process. Let her ride. Don't focus on anything. And then when she's finished, go, which kernel do you need me to focus on?
And then you can jump in.
And then you can have a conversation. And then, and telling her like, hey, you can popcorn, but you might want to keep it down to like 5 kernels instead of like throwing the whole bowl at them. Yeah. Try to popcorn a little less. Try to do your big popcorning with someone else and then narrow it down and then talk to him and then let him help you pick the best kernel.
Right.
Like,
so
that makes so much sense.
The process, to help them be the most successful, if you will, with
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so definitely something that couples should do because they're, I think, that's the most important relationship in your life. And if you can somewhat master that, I say master, but we'll say get through it. As far as
get better at it, right? You can get better at it.
Yeah, we can get better. We're always working on ourselves. So I love that. We need definitely take that test. Walk me through what it looks like for someone that wants to work with you, that wants to know if they are a good fit for you. What does that look like?
I think to be a good fit for me, so one, you can go to my website. So when I'm working with individuals, I send them to discoverjoeself.com. And yep.
I love that.
I know. When you have a name like Joe Self, you can't not use it, right? So discoverjoeself.com. And, I do work with couples. I do work with families. And I love that space because I love helping people see each other in this way that goes, now I get it. That makes sense, right? It really is. It's magical. It really is magical. And for people to see themselves like that.
Yeah.
and I know I'm derailing a little bit, but like self-awareness is one piece, but self-appreciation is the piece most of us are lacking. We feel like we know who we are, but we don't really appreciate who we are. And I think confidence is a symptom of not having self-appreciation. I don't think a lack of confidence is the problem.
Oh, I haven't heard of that before. That is so interesting.
Right? And I do think we're... Exactly. Your self-appreciation could be like, I know I'm difficult to get along with, right? Like, you're like, okay, but where does that come from? Right? And knowing that and then going, oh, wait, the reframe is I'm particular about who I like to relate to. Trust is really important to me, and so I may not get along with everybody, and I only need a certain amount of people for me to feel safe and secure. I don't need to be everybody's friend. Well, that's not a bad thing, right? But knowing that and go, oh, that makes so much more sense, right? So anyway, so working with me, and because of the economy and everything right now, I actually have 50% off all of my packages. And the way I tend to work is you pay for one session up front. You have to pay for the assessments, which is either $25 or $60. I highly recommend the $60 ones so that you don't have to make a further investment in the assessment itself, because that's the full complete report. But even though I tend to work in packages, you only pay for the first session. And then if you're like, I don't know if this is going to work, you are not on the hook for anything else. But if you do want to pick up for a package, then we just deduct that from the overall price, and then you're only left with what the rest of the package would cost. And that way I feel like it's a win-win for everybody that, you know, you make an investment because you want to try and do something, but if for whatever reason the personalities don't click or it doesn't feel like the right path, then you learn something about yourself, you're out one session, but you're not stuck with 3 or 4 more sessions with me going, ugh.
What have we done?
Yeah, what have we done? This is not what I want to do. Unfortunately, that has not happened very often, but yeah, I don't want to work with you forever, right? I want to work with you for 6 months,
right?
And I want to set you up for success. So then you just have to come in for the occasional tune-up every now and again, right? Because something came up. I don't want you to be a client that lasts forever, right? That's my maximizer. That's my activator. Like, I want to set people up for success so that they can do it themselves, and then they only check in when necessary.
Okay, so that's very different than a regular coach. A regular coach, I've worked with several coaches throughout my career for different needs, business coach, spiritual coach, all the things, and they don't normally focus on making you feel self-sufficient. Correct. That you can make decisions for yourself, that you should be working towards a point that you don't need said coach. So that stands out very much so.
My goal is to work myself out of a job, whether I'm working with an organization or with a person. My goal is to work myself out of a job. If I have done the best I can do, you don't need me anymore.
I kind of got chills just because I've never heard that before. And that should just show that you are genuinely trying to make people better. Make them perform better, see themselves in a different way, be able to make decisions for themselves. And that's really special. I like I said, I've met a lot of coaches and never been told that. Most of the time when you get near your 90 days or 6 months, your year, about a month or 2 before, they're already telling you what the next package will be if you want to renew, and you feel like you're kind of stuck in this loop of, how am I going to do this myself? Am I going to keep paying for this coach forever? So I love that that's your goal.
And I put the responsibility back on you, and they're like, you know, because when people are like, so how long are we going to work together? And I'm like, well, that's really dependent on you. I have a process. I have a system. If you show up and you do the work, it could be 6 weeks. It could be, you know, and I work my sessions. So the way I work packages is usually packages are a certain number of hours, but depending on what we're focused on, if you only need me for 15 minutes, then we do a 15-minute session. If you need me for a half hour or an hour, then you book the half hour or the hour. And so we might have, you know, if you have 8 hours, right, you could have 16 30-minute sessions over 6 months, or you could have eight 1-hour sessions over a week. if you're ready to like really dig in and do right. So like it is entirely up to you how long we take, but I will tell you that if we're not making progress and we've been together for 6 months, I may push the pause button. Because I will determine that you might need a different set of skills than what I have to offer.
Right.
I want you to be taking action. I want you to be doing something with it. And if I see that there's kind of this constant revisiting and going back to certain things and not expanding, then I'll push the pause button and say, come back when you're ready. And if you book an hour and we only use 15 minutes, then we bank the 45 we didn't use. So like, even if you're not sure how much time, like I don't steal time from people.
Okay.
And I work at your pace, and I'm really, really passionate about being accessible. So a lot of people are like, I don't know, you should raise your prices. And I'm like, the people I love to work with need a budget.
Okay. So you know your people well enough to know, no, I don't want to raise my price. They need this. And I am respecting their time, respecting my time enough to be able to offer it.
And money is never the reason you say no to me. You need a payment plan, we'll figure out a payment plan. Whatever it is you need to make it work. And like, I know my people, and my people for the most part, $500 is kind of like, oh, that seems fair. I can do that. And they don't have to think too much about it. Anything over 500 requires a little bit of thought, and maybe like, hey, maybe I don't need my Starbucks every day this month, right? Like, but nobody's maxing out a credit card to work with me. That's just not happening.
Okay. So much it's so mind-blowing because you just don't hear the stuff. I feel like I'm back in the 90s, the late 80s and the 90s, because you just don't hear people talking about, even about costs like that. So many times people are very mysterious with their prices, or, you know, you don't know what it's going to cost until you sit through an hour phone call and you feel you get excited. And then at the end you're like, oh, well, crap. Well, no, like I can't pay $20,000 for a coaching package, you know, and that can be so disheartening. But you know your people, you know your price point. And you have also said, even if this is your price point, and I know it is, but you're second guessing it because of the price, we'll figure it out. Like that cannot be an obstacle for you. That's so special. Yeah,
money can't be the obstacle. You can have other ones, and it's fine if it's not the time. But I and that comes from, I think, 14 years of living in developing countries. I think that comes from understanding economy of scale. So if you live in Africa, I'm not going to charge you the same as if you live in the States either, right? Like I've worked with people in 26 different countries with entirely different scales of economy, where, you know, living in Mexico, somebody who was the doorman for my building was making $100 a week of work. Like, so am I going to charge him $500 to work? No, I'm not going to charge him $500 to work with me. Like, I'm going to charge him in pesos and something that's reasonable for what he is. So that's the other thing I do, is I can adjust to where you are in that space, because that to me is what is fair.
Yeah. Meeting people where they are, meeting them where they are. It's so wholesome, and we need more of that. I think in this particular coaching, non-coaching space, transparency and authenticity. So I am hopeful that people will listen to my baby podcast and find you. If people do not know how to find Joe Self, where are some places they can look you up, get to know you, become friends?
They can definitely check the website out, discoverjoeself.com. I'm mostly on LinkedIn these days, which if you go to LinkedIn and just look up Joe Self, you'll find me there. On Facebook, you can also find me as @DiscoverJoeSelf, or YouTube. I'm doing a lot more video content, so my YouTube is @DiscoverJoeSelf.
Cool. Okay.
So yeah, if you look up Discover Joe Self, you're going to find me somewhere.
You're good. That's all we need. Well, Joe, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story, and really making me feel that the coaching space is, I'm going to say changing, but you've been around. So the coaching space is evolving. I
hope so.
Authentic, because I know a lot of people have the scaries, so we're not going to have scaries to work with Joe. Thank you for coming on, and I am definitely going to look up your global event coming up.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe.
If I could do it all over again, There'd be no wish I would, should've been. Spend more time with my family and friends. If I could do it all over again, I'd wake up early and start.